Good evening and welcome to another installment of the New York Minute Sports Show. We've got Aaron Boone, Bubbles, Buffoon, Baboon. Whoa! First press conference of the year. It's New York Minute Sports. It's New York Sports for New York Nuts. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. Let's go!
It's New York Minute Sports.
They're just monkeying around at the zoo.
Aaron Baboon and Aaron Judge starring Zoos on First.
Well, there you have it, folks. Welcome to another installment of the New York Minute Sports Show. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. Well, we're right back where we started, folks. You met me when I was doing Aaron Boone's post-game press conferences after the Boon Swoon. That's when the channel blew up, and we're right back to where we started. Pitchers and catchers. Aaron Boone talking to the media for the first time this year. Let's see if we'll get any answers. We'll probably just get about 1 million ums. Let's get a ticker going in the corner, see how many ums Aaron Baboon Bubbles gives us. But you know what? Before we do that, let's talk about the positives and negative of Aaron Boone. Yeah, let's talk about the positives because there actually is some, okay? Aaron Boone, in his first 8 years, has made the playoffs 7 times. Aaron Boone averages 94 wins a season. Aaron Boone at one point won 103 games with a team that had 33 injuries in 1 year. Also, if we go back to his first year, remember the team that he was handed? It was like handing a guy with his learner permit a Lamborghini. But Aaron Baboon had instant success. Got a winning percentage of .584. Top 3 in Yankee managers all time. But then let's talk about the negatives. He also is the longest tenured manager that's never won a World Series before. He's the guy that got Joe Girardi chased out of town because Joe Girardi told Gary Sanchez that he's lazy. So what did the Yankees organization do? It's easier to replace a manager than it is to replace a player. So they asked Joe Girardi to leave, and then the player-friendly manager showed up, Aaron Baboon Bubbles Buffoon. Is he too soft on his players? Absolutely. Did he just start getting tougher on him in the last couple of years because he might lose his job? Absolutely. But you got to kind of love him for that. That he will go to the mat for these guys, and even at his detriment, he will take the back of his players. But you know what? I always thought there was a healthy fear on the team with Joe Girardi and Joe Torre. These guys knew that they were going to get their asses reamed out when they went back into the dugout. Now with Aaron Baboon, if these guys are in a Boon Swoon, it's get them next time. It's not flipping over tables, and I know those days are gone, but guess what? Aaron Baboon's also been kicked out of 46 games. It's the highest rate to get kicked out of any game in the first 1,000 as a manager in Major League Baseball history. Also, I think that's a bad thing. The New York Yankees have a reputation for bitching. They have a reputation for Aaron Boone chirping every time he doesn't get a call. You don't think the managers and the owners and also the umpire crews know that the Yankees are going to bitch at them the whole time and it might be detrimental to them? And at this point, it's almost like Billy Martin, a caricature of himself, getting kicked out of these games. But I digress. It's the spring. It's the season of eternal hope. Vegas has the Yankees at 94 wins and being the #1 seed out of the American League this year, and this is going to be the guy. So my question to you guys watching before we start this, is this a do-or-die season for Aaron Bubbles Baboon? If he does not make the World Series or make significant waves in the playoffs this year, is Aaron Boone finally gone from the managerial position on the New York Yankees? But buyer beware. There's an old saying, you complain about the neighbor that lives next door to you now. What if the person that moves in next is even worse? Because if you think Aaron Boone's a puppet, the next person that they get in here to manage this New York Yankees team is going to be Pinocchio. So enough out of me. Let's go to the post-game press conference and let's see how many ums Aaron Boone does, and let's break out that excuse train. Remember, New York Minute Sports, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. Hit that notification button because I'm going to be breaking down Yankees and AL East and Major League Baseball news all season long. We're getting fired up at here in New York Minute.
Just to be clear about the injuries, outside of Clark, Garrett and Carlos, no one else is injured or starting slowly?
No, we should be good.
And then secondly, I don't know if you saw yesterday, but IKF told Red Sox reporters that the Blue Jays were hoping to see you guys in the playoffs last year because they thought you were an easier matchup.
Okay, first of all, a can of soup like IKF shouldn't be opening up his mouth. Second of all, IKF's right. I had the same conversation with my buddy. I was sitting in right field, and I was like, you know what, man? I don't want to see the Red Sox. And if the Blue Jays wanted to play the Yankees instead of the Red Sox, they were right. The pitching staff and the way that the Red Sox were playing at that point last year, I wouldn't want to play them either. And I think if the Yankees played them in a 5 or 7 game series, they would have lost to them. So it was a good thing for the New York Yankees that was shortened. But why is IKF opening up his mouth? The only reason usually people do that is because he really wanted to be a Yankee and they did not bring him back. Or he was displeased with the way that they got him off the team. But if you got to remember, he was a throw-in in a trade. He played to stay on the team. He had to learn left field. He had to learn shortstop. Was he serviceable? Yeah. But is IKF really going to move the needle in a rivalry against the Yankees and Boston Red Sox? Absolutely not. He's probably one of the last bench players on the team, and I'm tired of hearing about this guy's name. So I'm surprised. I want to hear what Aaron Boone's got to say about IKF.
How do you feel about that?
I guess he was right. A little surprising to hear IKF say that, but whatever. That's fine. I mean,
does it bother you at all?
Not really, honestly. I mean,
that means that that's going to be getting hung up in the locker room every time they play the Boston Red Sox this year. And now you can tell Aaron Boone by not answering and omitting that, saying, hey, taking the high road. I'm surprised IKF said that. There's no reason for IKF to say it. Either he's garnering like friendship with the Boston Red Sox fans, which he doesn't need to do. And even the pitcher that they got, Sonny Gray, was doing the same kind of act. I guess that's the whole routine that players that get acquired by the Boston Red Sox have to shit on the Yankees immediately. Like, remember Nathan Eovaldi when he joined the Red Sox saying he could strike out Babe Ruth? I guess it's in their clause. The massholes have to act like massholes.
I mean, you got to play who you play and whatever.
Randy and John.
It was a little surprising that you guys didn't spend money on relievers after losing some of the guys. They brought a couple guys back. But how much is that you guys think you can get more out of?
That means two things. That means that the Yankees are building their bullpen. Like I told you before, they only need a 6th inning guy. They need about 3 guys to rotate around the 6th inning because 7, 8, 9 is locked up. So they're going to try to acquire these guys from in-house. You got to remember, the New York Yankees have one of the best pitching labs in all of Major League Baseball, and Matt Blake does an excellent job with all of these pitchers. So if it's anything I'm confident in, it's the New York Yankees pitching lab.
Bird, Duvall, and then you mentioned some of the starters.
Well, the whole division is very strong. The Blue Jays did win most of the games against your team last year, and you've said that they were your kryptonite. They've added a $30 million a year pitcher. Are they the team to beat?
I guess. I mean, they're the AL champs, so I don't. However you want to frame it. I mean, you gotta, pay them their respect. They, and I think one of the stretches they beat us up in Toronto in like a stretch where we played them. I think 2 series, like 7 games up there in the course of a few weeks when we were a little bit broken. We weren't at our best at all. So I think that played a role, but they're the champs, and so, everyone be.
You know what? And that's right. The Toronto Blue Jays are the team to beat in the AL East. But my question to my Blue Jays fans that watch this show is, do you feel confident? Your organization hasn't been able to put back-to-back winning seasons in a long time. You guys were relevant in 92. Then you had the Batista years of the playoffs and that monumental home run. And then it was radio silence until last year. So my question to you guys is, what gives you so much confidence that a team that wrung out every ounce of energy, every ounce of ability, and every domino fell for the Toronto Blue Jays last year, what makes you confident that they're going to be able to replicate that special season they had last year? Because remember the New York Mets of 2 years ago who came out of nowhere and went to the NLCS? What did they do the next year after acquiring Juan Soto? They missed the playoffs. And in a very, very competitive AL East, would it surprise you if the Boston Red Sox, New York Yankees, and Orioles finish 1-2-3, and the Toronto Blue Jays are on the outside looking in on the playoffs this year in the AL East? Let me know in the comments below because, yeah, the Blue Jays are the team to beat, but guess what? The New York Yankees have been here before, and we know what to do.
Pretty much all of your competitors in the AL East made moves of significance that on paper improve them going into the season. How do you evaluate the division this year?
Tough. I feel like I sit up here every year and talk about
the AL East is going to be a meat grinder this year. I would say if I had to rank the off seasons of the teams in the AL East, I think the Boston Red Sox did the best job in free agency in the offseason. I would say the Toronto Blue Jays come in second place with getting the Japanese player in Dylan Cease. I would say even the Orioles, they come in third place with getting Pete Alonso and adding some key pieces. Not enough pitching, though. And the Yankees, they come in fourth with the moves that they've made. But it's different. The New York Yankees are in different situations than the Boston Red Sox and the Toronto Blue Jays. The Yankees are building from the farm system, and they believe with the acquisitions that they had at the trade deadline last year that they rebuilt their whole team. So they started their offseason in July of last year, and they didn't have to do as much as the Toronto Blue Jays and the Boston Red Sox, but they got exponentially better in the rest of the AL East. I don't think the Toronto Blue Jays are going to replicate what they did last year. I think, you know what? I'll get my prediction closer to spring training. Don't forget to hit your notifications. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe because I'm going to be breaking it all down.
Question that it's going to be tough. It's I feel like the Red Sox, we started to see them kind of come of age last year, and the pieces they've had some attrition too, but feel like they have a chance to be an outstanding club. Obviously, the Blue Jays are the reigning AL champs. And they've made strides to improve. And then Baltimore's the team that, really in the second half of the season was more in line with who they were in 23 and 24. And obviously they've had some people come in. So I think they're going to be a team to reckon with. And the Rays are always.
You got to remember, it was the Baltimore Orioles' terrible start last year that completely knocked them behind the eight ball. They fired their manager, and then they finally started to hit their stride at the end of the year, and they were even in contention for the wild card. Also, remember, the Toronto Blue Jays finished with the exact same wins as the New York Yankees, tied. They just won the tiebreaker from them. And also, if it wasn't for the Yankees' Boon Swoon, June Swoon, when they were up 8 games and they didn't completely collapse, I think AL East last year falls more on the Yankees defeated themselves more so than other teams defeating them. Also, the New York Yankees need to figure out immediately that the Toronto Blue Jays were picking up on their signals. The Toronto Blue Jays had to be looking at them tipping pitches, and that should be in the forefront of this spring training is hiding their signs, hiding their signals, because guess what? Don Mattingly knew the special sauce of the New York Yankees last year and figured them out. I have never seen a team act like they know what pitch is coming before it even comes down the plate. Not saying anything nefarious, no censors like the cheating Astros, no banging on garbage cans like Carlos Beltran, none of that. I just think legally and in the game of baseball, these guys found something out on the New York Yankees and completely exposed them. Kudos to the Blue Jays and their managerial staff. It's up to Bubbles this year to hide the signals and hide all of it, Boone, because the secret got out last year in the AL East.
Always tough. So the division's real. We think we're one of those teams that can go out and win it. But again, it's February, and all of us and them all have a long way to go in building what is ultimately a winning and a team capable of winning this division.
Brian.
this will be year 2 for Austin Wells as your starting catcher. What did you evaluate him as last year, and how do you?
I got to admit, I'm surprised when I'm even going to say this. I think Austin Wells is going to be the comeback player of the year for the New York Yankees this year. I thought he was really going to take a mega step last year. He didn't. And in fact, for the numbers that he had, 20 home runs, 65, 70 RBIs, that's really good for the catching position in Major League Baseball nowadays where the numbers are down. Also, in Austin Wells' defense, he got the shit beat out of him behind the plate last year. It seemed like 2 to 3 times a game he was getting foul balls in the neck, everywhere on his body, and he got beat up. Also, Austin Wells and Anthony Volpe were brought up from AAA ahead of schedule, 1 year ahead of schedule because the Yankees needed them. So, sophomore jinx, all that stuff. Anthony Volpe and Austin Wells definitely took steps back. But I think Austin Wells has the makeup and has the ability to have a breakout comeback player of the year type of season.
Think he can continue to grow?
Eric.
In terms of the competition regarding the bullpen, I'm guessing you won't give a number, but how would you characterize the number of true open spots for that bullpen?
There are some. And look,
well, think about it. You got Bednar is the closer. Duvall or Cruz can be the 8th inning guy. Then you got Tim, King of the Hill from AutoZone. So you have the 7, 8, 9 pretty much mapped out. Then you got to remember, you got Yarborough in the bullpen, who is a crafty lefty. So he can almost work as a Tim Hill 7th inning guy as well. So you're really only looking to fill up what I like to call low-lev Deb inning, the 6th inning, or the Jonathan Loizaga inning, the 6th inning from last year. So you need a rotation of about 3 young arms to fit the 6th spot for the bullpen. And that could be a number of guys. And also, that can be young starters that they want to bring along and bring up to the major league level so they can get used to the situation and then bring them into the rotation as they bring them along. Kind of an extended spring training.
Greg.
With Carlos and Garrett, how far into their throwing programs are they, and how have they kind of responded to the offseason and everything coming back from their surgeries?
Yeah, good.
See, but like Carlos Rodón and Garrett Cole, I don't think should be thrown in the same category because Carlos Rodón's injury is a lot less serious than Garrett Cole's. Garrett Cole's coming back from a major surgery in his mid-30s. Carlos Rodón is younger. He had bone chips. It's kind of a routine process. They both have the luxury of not rushing these guys back. If this was last year and 2 other starters fell out, the Yankees would be in serious trouble. But now, with the acquisition of Weathers, with the acquisition of Yarborough, with all the arms, Luis Gil that they got, they have so many arms, Will Warren, that they can bridge the gap until all the major starters come back. And when the New York Yankees have all of their starters healthy, they have 8 legit starters. Not to mention, the organization, if you watched yesterday's show, is very high on Luis Gil this year and says that they're very impressed with his offseason regimen.
They're pretty far into it, especially Carlos. He's probably not far behind, from the start of the season. And then as far as Garrett, I think he's thrown a number of pens already in California. I think he's scheduled to begin lives in a couple of weeks and then, could potentially, even get in some game action by the end of spring. We'll see how all that shakes.
And that's a major, major storyline for the New York Yankees this year. What version of Garrett Cole are they going to get? If you think that they're going to get the flamethrower from 3 or 4 years ago, I think you're going to be solely mistaken. I wonder if Garrett Cole is going to have to be like Andy Pettitte in the twilight of his career and change his approach at the plate, because Andy Pettitte was a power pitcher, and then he started throwing breaking balls at the end of his career. He was only topping off at about 89 miles an hour with his fastball. Not saying that's going to happen to Garrett Cole, but when you're a guy at his age with a serious injury like that, what version of Cole are you going to get back? Let me know in the comments below. Are you guys confident in the Garrett Cole that we're going to get back this year, or do you think that Garrett Cole might be the 3rd starter on this team now, behind Max Fried and Carlos Rodón when healthy?
Down if we want to do that or not, but both have done well.
Pete. to the right.
Aaron, what have your first impressions of Ryan Weathers been, just talking to him, and what about your expectations for him in this rotation?
Yeah, really excited that we were able to get him. I think he's got a chance to be really good. I mean, for him, it's about being able to go to the post. You know, he struggled with different things that have kept him off the field. I think he's done a really nice job of kind of evolving his offseason training program that hopefully will help him be in a better spot. We feel like he is at this point. But to watch him move, like, really good athlete, moves really well on the mound, obviously really big stuff. And hopefully there's some tweaks in his game as still a young man that will help him kind of take that next step. But I think the biggest step for him is being healthy and being available.
My adopted son of the 2026 season on the pitching staff is officially Weathers. I think that this kid is going to be a stud in the Yankees organization. You got to remember, his old man played for the Yankees. He was a reliever from 95 to 97. They traded him to the Indians. But this kid was statistically one of the greatest high school baseball players ever in the United States. He's been with the Miami Marlins, and as you know, lefties don't really get their shit together until 27, 28 years of age. I mean, look at Randy Johnson. Randy Johnson only had about 98 wins when he was 30. He finished with 320. So lefties usually figure it out. Blake Snell, same thing. So Weathers, I think, can be a spot starter. He can be out of the bullpen, and that's what I'm getting back to. The flexibility of the 2026 New York Yankees is much better than in years past.
And if that's the case, I think we have a chance to have a really good pitcher on our hands.
Brendan, to the left.
Aaron, two questions. First, I'm on your right. Hi. Two questions. First, today's pitchers and catchers, it kind of came out of nowhere last year, but where are things at with Giancarlo? Do you expect him to be?
Did Giancarlo Stanton cut any rough steaks at Ruby Tuesdays and sprain both of his elbows again, Boone? That's the translation of the question.
Maybe a Warren could eventually transition to Weathers. That was not a strength last year like it was the year before. Do you think the bullpen, as is, can be a bigger strength this year?
Yeah, I think it has a chance to be. And again, I think it's because of our overall pitching depth that I really like. And so that may mean a reliever or a starter having to collapse.
So Clark Schmidt, when he's back and healthy, possible bullpen. Will Warren, possible bullpen. Luis Heel, I don't know. They're kind of high on him as a starter, but he would be perfect for the bullpen.
And maybe somebody that, nobody's writing about at this point, that usually, especially in bullpens, seems to always emerge around the league. The bullpen is usually one of the most volatile things that's hard to predict sometimes. I think we feel good about the talent that we have and who's going to kind of emerge from that group.
And also, they kind of like to keep it a secret weapon. Like Cam Schlittler, if you were in the know about the New York Yankees, you knew about how good Cam Schlittler could be, but the rest of the league didn't know. And he came on guns blazing
to grab a meaningful role, coupled with the handful of guys that are back, that are in leverage spots that we feel really good about. And you mentioned Camilo. He's had a really good winter, kind of getting ready for the WBC, and we've had really good communication with him throughout the winter. And one of those players that came over at the deadline that I think.
That's another guy that's going to really bode well from having a whole spring training with the New York Yankees. Get in-house. It was, these guys were thrown right into the fire. I think they were on the Yankees for a day. Duvall and Bednar pitched in the same game. And when they blew it up, too, I remember Duvall got nailed. Bednar got nailed against the Marlins, and we were like, oh, shit, did they get the right guys? Then they finally settled down. Now with Matt Blake's tutelage, these guys are going to be even better.
Being here with us now and you're building that relationship, hopefully is something that serves him and us both well. But I think it's always a little bit of an unknown with the bullpen, but I feel like it has a chance to be a real strength for us. We got to see how the dust settles though a little bit. And, I think, there's some big numbers attached to relievers, this winter.
And that was the big difference last year. The Yankees always luck out on the bullpen, whether it's Luke Weaver, Jonathan Loáisiga, Tim Hill, these reclamation projects that they get that wind up being lights out for the New York Yankees. You know, these are the guys that the Yankees can bring in, and they turn into great bullpen arms. Also, the surprise factor, guys. They don't really want to show these guys or talk about them too much until you see them on the major league level, and then you're like, who's this guy? The Yankees know who they have as far as arms are concerned in the farm system.
So I think, you know, we obviously had to address different things. So, you know, you try and allocate your resources the best you can.
With Duvall and Bird, do you think I know Bird was only a very short sample size, but do you think of his struggles adjusting or just a bad spurt? What do you see from their arms that make you believe that they can be high leverage guys that could replace some of the guys you lost lately?
Well, that's who Camilo's been. You know, he has been that high leverage guy, and really at the end of the year with us, felt like was throwing the ball really well for us.
Yeah, that reporter shouldn't be throwing Duvall and Bird's name in the same category because Bird was an object failure who got brought down to AAA immediately. Duvall was serviceable, above serviceable at the end of the year.
Big outs for us. So, and then, you know, I think his best season that he's had to date was 23 back when he, you know, pitched in the WBC also. So we're hoping that kind of, you know, making sure that winter is focused in the right way to make sure you're prepared, and hopefully is something that, you know, serves him well and another year kind of like that in store. He certainly has the capability. As far as Bird, we love the stuff. Really good competitor. Obviously had some struggles here. Really on the heels of struggling a little bit before we traded for him, and we think a little bit of that was probably
the Rockies were overusing him. That's going to be the Yankees' excuse, is that the Rockies only had Bird in their bullpen. So when they got him, he was tired, dead arm.
A little overworked, you know. Probably had a little wear and tear on him in the middle of the season. That took its toll. You know, he was used a lot in that first half in Colorado. So hopefully now a couple months with us, you know, in the minor leagues, and then an off season. You know, I saw his bullpen the other day. He looked really good. But, you know, I think he has a chance to play a real meaningful role for us.
John, right behind you, man.
Yeah, you were very positive last spring about Cam Schlittler. You seemed like you thought
John Heyman, John Heyman with the question. Hey, Bo Bichette, how much are you going to make after taxes this year?
A lot of potential. Now that you've seen it for 15, 16 starts, how high do you think?
I still think he has a lot of potential.
I mean, how good can he be?
Yeah. Yeah. It's just when you throw strikes like he does, and you start with, you know, his best pitch is his fastball, and you know, when you kind of throwing with his size and his angle and that big time fastball.
Cam Schlittler, what he showed us at the end of the year last year, I was in the building. It's one of the most impressive playoff pitching performances I've ever seen in my life. I went home and I watched it again because it was that impressive. Can he replicate that again next year? Let's hope so. Does this guy seem like he could be caught in the same breath at the end of the year with a Skubal and a Skeens? Let me know in the comments below, because I think sky is the limit for this guy. Look at the size of him. He's 24 years of age. He's still going to grow and get even bigger. And with the way that he effortlessly throws 100 miles an hour, it's probably going to top off eventually at 102. A starting pitcher throwing a fastball of 102 and establishing that, then throwing an 87-mile-an-hour changeup, yeah, good luck. You Savage and Cam Schlittler, two budding stars in the AL East for the Blue Jays and the New York Yankees. It's going to be fun watching them go head-to-head for the next few years.
For them, but at the same time, I don't think that's for you guys to write, and we're trying to get ready to be the best team we can be. And we think if we reach our potential, that has a chance to be really special.
Randy.
One more on Stanton. He's missed a lot of time, 6 of the last 7 seasons. But if he is healthy and you can get a full season out of him, last year his batting average was a lot better. You talk about how he's learning to manage his body more.
Remember they were joking about how Stanton was a singles hitter last year when he came back off the DL. All he was doing was hitting singles because what power hitters do, if they can hit singles, the ball will naturally elevate and they'll start hitting home runs. Exactly what Giancarlo Stanton did. Look at Giancarlo Stanton's numbers that he had last year. He played maybe half a season, and he finished with 20 bombs, 60 RBIs. The guy is a professional hitter. He's getting better with age. It's just a matter of health and safety with him. Put him in bubble wrap until July. Let him be healthy towards the end of the playoffs and in the way to October.
What would that mean to you guys if you get a full season out of this guy? Because when he's on a good streak, still he's about as good as anyone.
Yeah, I'm excited. Going back to 24, he was largely healthy for us. Missed the month of August, roughly, that 30-day stretch where he got hurt, and then obviously came back in September and then had an awesome postseason. And then last year, was mostly, once he came back and debuted for us, was mostly healthy and incredibly productive. I think just a testament to him just continuing to know himself really well, having that ability to make adjustments to the league, to what teams are doing to him.
And what Giancarlo Stanton brings to the New York Yankees in the locker room is a calm and a presence and a clutch older brother. And that's why the New York Yankees are dangerous this year, is because of flexibility. Yeah, I know Giancarlo Stanton has the flexibility of Frankenstein, but now when you have the injection of youth on this team, and you have 4 or 5 outfielders, 5 infielders, guys that can play defense, guys that can hit, guys that can run for speed, steal bags, play defense, small ball, all of it. The New York Yankees have become better by their ability to be flexible. They are going to be able to alleviate Giancarlo Stanton's workload, just like Paul Goldschmidt and the older players on this team. With the youth on the pitching staff and the youth in the positional players, the New York Yankees are the most dangerous team in all of the AL East this year in 2026. And I'm going to be breaking it all down all season long, folks. So don't forget to hit that notification button. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. It's New York Minute Sports, baby. It's New York sports for New York nuts. And remember, if you can't be good, be bad, baby. Good night, Canada. Bye.